Day 66, Numbers 28, 29, and 30. Numbers 28. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Command the children of Israel and tell them, See that you present my offering, my food for my offerings, made by fire, as a pleasant aroma to me. In their due season, you shall tell them, This is the offering made by fire, which you shall offer to the Lord. Male lambs a year old without defect, 2 day by day. For a continual burnt offering, you shall offer the one lamb in the morning, and you shall offer the other lamb at evening. With 1/10 of an ephah of fine flour for a meal offering, mixed with the 1/4 part of a hin of beaten oil. It is a continual burnt offering, which was ordained in Mount Sinai for a pleasant aroma, an offering made by fire to the Lord. Its drink offering shall be the 1/4 part of a hin for each lamb. You shall pour out a drink offering of strong drink to the Lord in the holy place. The other lamb you shall offer at evening. As the meal offering of the morning and as its drink offering, you shall offer it, an offering made by fire for a pleasant aroma to the Lord. On the Sabbath day, you shall offer 2 male lambs, a year old without defect, and 2/10 of an ephah of fine flour for a meal offering mixed with oil and its drink offering. This is the burnt offering of every Sabbath, in addition to the continual burnt offering and its drink offering. In the beginnings of your months, you shall offer a burnt offering to the Lord, 2 young bulls, 1 ram, 7 male lambs, a year old without defect, and 3/10 of an ephah of fine flour for a meal offering mixed with oil for each bull, and 2/10 parts of fine flour for a meal offering mixed with oil for the 1 ram, and 1/10 part of fine flour mixed with oil for a meal offering to every lamb, as a burnt offering of a pleasant aroma, an offering made by fire to the Lord. Their drink offerings shall be 1/2 a hin of wine for a bull, the 1/3 part of a hin for the ram, and the 1/4 part of a hin for a lamb. This is the burnt offering of every month throughout the month of the year. Also 1 male goat for a sin offering to the Lord shall be offered in addition to the continual burnt offering and its drink offering. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month, is the Lord's Passover. On the 15th day of this month shall be a feast. Unleavened bread shall be eaten for 7 days. In the first day shall be a holy convocation. You shall do no regular work, but you shall offer an offering made by fire, a burnt offering to the Lord, 2 young bulls, 1 ram, and 7 male lambs a year old. They shall be without defect, with their meal offering. Fine flour mixed with oil you shall offer 3/10 for a bull and 2/10 for the ram. You shall offer 1/10 for every lamb of the 7 lambs, and 1 male goat for a sin offering, to make atonement for you. You shall offer these in addition to the burnt offering of the morning, which is for a continual burnt offering. In this way, you shall offer daily for 7 days the food of the offering made by fire, of a pleasant aroma to the Lord. It shall be offered in addition to the continual burnt offering and its drink offering. On the 7th day, you shall have a holy convocation. You shall do no regular work. Also in the day of the first fruits, when you offer a new meal offering to the Lord, in your feasts of weeks, you shall have a holy convocation. You shall do no regular work, but you shall offer a burnt offering for a pleasant aroma to the Lord, 2 young bulls, 1 ram, 7 male lambs, a year old, and their meal offering, fine flour mixed with oil, 3/10 for each bull, 2/10 for the 1 ram, 1/10 for every lamb of the 7 lambs, and 1 male goat to make atonement for you. Besides the continual burnt offering and its meal offering, you shall offer them and their drink offerings. See that they are without defect.
Numbers chapter 29. In the 7th month, on the 1st day of the month, you shall have a holy convocation. You shall do no regular work. It is a day of blowing of trumpets to you. You shall offer a burnt offering for a pleasant aroma to the Lord, 1 young bull, 1 ram, 7 male lambs a year old without defect, and their meal offering, fine flour mixed with oil, 3/10 of the bull, 2/10 for the ram, and 1/10 for every lamb of the 7 lambs, and 1 male goat for a sin offering to make atonement for you. In addition to the burnt offering of the new moon with its meal offering, and the continual burnt offering with its meal offering, and their drink offerings, according to their ordinance, for a pleasant aroma, an offering made by fire to the Lord. On the 10th day of the 7th month, you shall have a holy convocation. You shall afflict your souls. You shall do no kind of work, but you shall offer a burnt offering to the Lord for a pleasant aroma. 1 young bull, 1 ram, 7 male lambs, a year old, all without defect. And their meal offering, fine flour mixed with oil, 3/10 for a bull, 2/10 for 1 ram, 1/10 for every lamb of the 7 lambs, 1 male goat for a sin offering, in addition to the sin offering of atonement, and the continual burnt offering, and its meal offering, and their drink offerings. On the 15th day of the 7th month, you shall have a holy convocation. You shall do no regular work. You shall keep a feast to the Lord 7 days. You shall offer a burnt offering, an offering made by fire, of a pleasant aroma to the Lord, 13 young bulls, 2 rams, 14 male lambs a year old, all without defect, and their meal offering, fine flour mixed with oil, 3/10 for every bull of 13 bulls, 2/10 for each ram of the 2 rams, and 1/10 for every lamb of the 14 lambs. And 1 male goat for a sin offering, in addition to the continual burnt offering, its meal offering, and its drink offering. On the 2nd day, you shall offer 12 young bulls, 2 rams, and 14 male lambs, a year old without defect, and their meal offerings, and the drink offerings for the bulls, for the rams, and for the lambs, according to their number, after the ordinance, and 1 male goat for a sin offering, in addition to the continual burnt offering, with its meal offering, and their drink offerings. On the 3rd day, 11 bulls, 2 rams, 14 male lambs, a year old without defect, and their meal offering and their drink offerings for the bulls, for the rams, and for the lambs, according to their number, after the ordinance, and 1 male goat for a sin offering, in addition to the continual burnt offering, and its meal offering and its drink offering. On the 4th day, 10 bulls, 2 rams, 14 male lambs, a year old without defect, their meal offering and their drink offerings for the bulls, for the rams, and for the lambs, according to their number, after the ordinance, and 1 male goat for a sin offering, in addition to the continual burnt offering, its meal offering, and its drink offering. On the 5th day, 9 bulls, 2 rams, 14 male lambs, a year old without defect, and their meal offering and their drink offerings for the bulls, for the rams, and for the lambs, according to their number, after the ordinance, and 1 male goat for a sin offering, in addition to the continual burnt offering, and its meal offering and its drink offering. On the 6th day, 8 bulls, 2 rams, 14 male lambs a year old without defect, and their meal offering and their drink offerings for the bulls, for the rams, and for the lambs, according to their number, after the ordinance, and 1 male goat for a sin offering, in addition to the continual burnt offering, its meal offering and the drink offerings of it. On the 7th day, 7 bulls, 2 rams, 14 male lambs a year old without defect, and their meal offering and their drink offerings for the bulls, for the rams, and for the lambs, according to their number, after the ordinance, and 1 male goat for a sin offering, in addition to the continual burnt offering, its meal offering, and its drink offering. On the 8th day, you shall have a solemn assembly. You shall do no regular work, but you shall offer a burnt offering, an offering made by fire, a pleasant aroma to the Lord. 1 bull, 1 ram, 7 male lambs a year old without defect, their meal offering and their drink offerings, for the bull, for the ram, and for the lambs shall be according to their number after the ordinance, and 1 male goat for a sin offering, in addition to the continual burnt offering with its meal offering and its drink offering. You shall offer these to the Lord in your set feasts, in addition to your vows and your free will offerings, for your burnt offerings, your meal offerings, and your drink offerings, and your peace offerings. Moses told the children of Israel, according to all that the Lord commanded Moses.
Numbers 30. Moses spoke to the heads of the tribes of the children of Israel, saying, "This is the thing which the Lord has commanded. When a man vows a vow to the Lord, or swears an oath to bind his soul with a bond, he shall not break his word. He shall do according to all that proceeds out of his mouth. Also, when a woman vows a vow to the Lord, and binds herself by a pledge, being in her father's house in her youth, and her father hears her vow, and her pledge with which she has bound her soul, and her father says nothing to her, then all her vows shall stand, and every pledge with which she has bound her soul shall stand. But if her father forbids her in the day that he hears, none of her vows or of her pledges with which she has bound her soul shall stand. The Lord will forgive her, because her father has forbidden her. If she has a husband, while her vows are on her, or the rash utterance of her lips with which she has bound her soul, and her husband hears it, and says nothing to her in the day that he hears it, then her vows shall stand, and her pledges with which she has bound her soul shall stand. But if her husband forbids her in that day that he hears it, then he makes void her vow which is on her, and the rash utterance of her lips with which she has bound her soul. The Lord will forgive her. But the vow of a widow, or of her who is divorced, everything with which she has bound her soul shall stand against her. If she vowed in her husband's house or bound her soul by a bond with an oath, and her husband heard it and held his peace at her and didn't disallow her, then all her vows shall stand, and every pledge with which she bound her soul shall stand. But if her husband made them null and void in the day that he heard them, then whatever proceeded out of her lips concerning her vows or concerning the bond of her soul shall not stand. Her husband has made them void. The Lord will forgive her. Every vow and every binding oath to afflict the soul, her husband may establish it, or her husband may make it void. But if her husband says nothing to her from day to day, then he establishes all her vows or all her pledges which are on her. He has established them because he has said nothing to her in the day that he heard them. But if he makes them null and void after he has heard them, then he shall bear her iniquity. These are the statutes which the Lord commanded Moses between a man and his wife, between a father and his daughter, being in her youth, in her father's house.
What amazing amount of sacrifices God is calling the people to make in that first chapter we read. Bulls, rams, lambs, goats. I don't know if it's because they're about to enter the promised land, but just the sheer number of offerings to God is amazing. Not to mention free will offerings and peace offerings. God has really changed the hearts of these people from slaves who depended on their masters to people who are willing to give up everything for their God.
There is so many sacrifices that they're making. And I noticed that over and over it said, it's to be a beautiful aroma, a sweet aroma to the Lord.
Fragrance.
Everything is going to be, it's going to smell beautiful. It's going to be something that the aroma he can, it's going to be infiltrating the entire space that they're in, the air, so that it's beautiful. It is a sacrifice of thank you, a sacrifice of preparation, a sacrifice of they're getting ready to go into the promised land. And it really made me think about Jesus and how he became that sacrifice for us. And I was looking it up, and it says, Ephesians 5 verse 2, and walk in love as Christ loved us and gave himself up for us, a fragrant offering and sacrifice to God.
Oh, wow.
And so instead of all of these bowls and food and everything that needed to have taken place with the Israelites, Jesus was the one and only sacrifice for us, a fragrant sacrifice to God.
Yeah. Wow.
And how we don't need to do all those sacrifices any longer because Jesus, he offered himself willingly as a sacrifice for us so that we can have a relationship, so that we one day can go into the promised land. So all of this is foreshadowing Jesus coming for us so that we can enter into the promised land, heaven, one day.
Wow.
And into his kingdom.
The one thing that really stood out to me was, with all the sacrifice, with all that they were offering to God, I don't get a sense that they were begrudging God. Like, it wasn't a list of do's and don'ts. It was free will. It was an offering. It was a heart to want to serve their God. You know, often we compare religion to something that it's an obligation we have to do, but that wasn't it. The heart of these people was they were celebrating their time with God, and that's what we really should take away from our relationship with God. Should be a celebration.
And also, there's a lot of excellence and perfection in it. He doesn't want anything that's blemished.
Yes.
He wants things that are pure, that are holy, that are, the best. And in the same way, I see how he calls us to be that way today, that our sacrifices are like a sweet aroma to him, as long as it's coming from our hearts, as long as we are giving our best, not our leftovers, but that our best goes to God first. Is it okay if I read a couple of scriptures here? Because I just think it's just so incredible. In Philippians 4 verse 18, it says, I have received full payment and more. I am well supplied, having received from Epaphroditus the gifts you sent, a fragrant offering, a sacrifice acceptable and pleasing to God. And then in Hebrews 13, so this is in the New Testament, do not neglect to do good and to share what you have, for such sacrifices are pleasing to God. Ephesians 5, 1 and 2. Therefore be imitators of God as beloved children, and walk in love as Christ loved us and gave himself up for us, a fragrant offering of sacrifice to God. There's just one more here. In 1 Peter 2, verse 5, it says, you yourselves, like living stones, are being built up as a spiritual house, to be a holy priesthood, to offer spiritual sacrifices acceptable to God through Jesus Christ.
Wow. It's amazing, the foreshadowing so many years prior with the Israelites going to the promised land. We have before us this promised land of heaven, and Jesus is opening that door.
But what I think is so amazing is we are now living sacrifices, right? Our lives should be reflecting what Jesus did, how he lived. In Romans 12, verse 1, I appeal to you, brothers, by the mercy of God, to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your spiritual worship.
Sure. No, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Because the very next chapter is talking about vows that we make before God. God isn't concerned so much about the sacrifice of the tangible value that's placed on it. He wants the heart and the motives behind the heart.
And that we're a living sacrifice, that it's like holy and pleasing to God, that our lives, our thoughts, our purity, we need to be whole. We're presenting something that's without defect every single day. As we pray to God, as we walk around, as we're talking to people, the call is high. The type of lifestyle isn't just, I'm going to just put God in when I feel like it, but he's really calling us to be holy, to be a living sacrifice, to live a life where we're denying ourselves, where we're putting God's desire and his wants before our own.
Yeah.
And we're serving mankind out of a pure heart. So I just see that it's a very high calling. It's not just kind of the average, what people say Christianity is, just, oh, I believe in God and that's enough. It's much more than that.
Yeah, it's so true.
It is a lifestyle. It is a way of thinking. It is a consuming lifestyle that God is calling us to be in a holy way, without it being like a check, like a list of things to check off. I must do this, I must do that, but really a desire, a pleasing sacrifice, because we're thankful and we're grateful.
Yeah. We'll see you again next time.